a professional face on.
All right. Man, oh man, oh man. It's Monday. You know what it is. Open court discussion time in the counselor's corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the controversial counselor. Joining me is my co-host, Herb Lewis, the big bad wolf.
Oh,
Willie A. Price speaks the truth.
That's right. Here to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I heard
And the
that.
lavishing Christine Brooks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful,
Welcome.
beautiful.
This past Monday, we discussed the topic treat people how you want to be treated. Well, tonight, we coming back with the lead off with the topic son's husband and the impact it has on men. Yeah, you heard it, son's husband. If you don't, well, let me just tell you. Interesting. So, what is that? It's a growing trend where a son lives at home with his mother or siblings who fulfills the emotional and intellectual needs of his mother at the expense of his own personal, romantic, or emotional development. Yeah, you heard it. And it's so funny that in certain groups, people was acting like, oh, that's not all single mothers. I'm going to say it again, and I'm tired of saying it, that I don't deal with absolutes. The only absolutes there are either you live, we're all born, and you die. Those are the only absolutes. So anybody with logical thinking knows that people are not talking about everyone. So, but people was clueless, like, well, I don't know. Like they never seen the movie Baby Boy or know that it's
Mhm.
guys that live with their single mother and they're like the son and the husband. And sometimes it's perpetuated because at a young age you start speaking that language, telling little 6 and 7 year olds that they're the man of the house or this is my little man and stuff like that. So some of them is kind of indoctrinated in their head. Oh, but we're going to go on. So, so now let's take a look at the other three essential talking points. When a relationship ends, do you ever take out time to think what could you have done differently to save the relationship? Because a lot of times, once it's in, sometimes people jump right into another one and they never take that time to reflect or to heal to say, man, maybe she had a point. Maybe he had a point. If I would have did this differently, we could still be together. Because often many of us are out there chasing that silver bullet, thinking we're going to find something else. And really, it might have been a small, minor thing you could have worked on with the last person, and y'all still could be together. So that's one of the talking points. Number two, has modern daily dating become too commercialized? You know, with the dating apps, with all the little extra stuff that said what you bring into the table and all of this thing. So is it genuine or is it just too commercialized? Like are people putting on a show in this dating game, especially with social media, because everybody has to do the show and tell thing. Number three, beauty distorted. Are Native Black American males driving Native Black American women's weight issues? Yeah, you heard it. Are African American males driving Black women's weight issues? And we're going to go further into that if you like. Okay, I need more details on that. We're going to jump right into that, but I'm just putting it out there. So, another full plate with some desserts on the side. Tune in. Please like and share our video and subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. And here we go. So, what's going on, people? Anything new in your world?
Man, my Cowboys pulled it out yesterday with Cooper Rush, man. I think I'm gonna have to go out and get me a Cooper Rush jersey. I
They
was
don't
like,
even got jerseys for him. They don't even got one.
I can get one made. His family got him, so I know they can get them made, and I know some places that'll make up jerseys for players such as my man Cooper Rush, sat in the saddle, rode high. So I'm kind of geeked. My boys are looking pretty good right now.
Definitely, definitely.
Well, I try to keep this off the show, but this past weekend and even this morning, I'm still going through stuff about my book in the Black History Museum here in Niagara Falls.
Wow.
Still. And it's not just me. That's what's so crazy about it. People are contacting me, local Black businesses who do Black history like products or different things have reached out to me saying they won't let me put my stuff in there either. Or they want me to give them 50% of my profit in order for me to put it in there. So if we do a 50-50 split and it costs me 20 or 30% to get the product, to create the product,
right?
And then that means I'm only making 20% and you're making 50% off of my product. And most places, most museums and bookstores, it's either 70-30 or 60-40. It's not 50-50.
Mhm.
And I had a guy stop me this morning. I was on my way to a meeting, and this guy stopped me this morning. And this is like the third or fourth person that has reached out to me or have contacted me regarding, and they're all local Black businesses. That's what's so crazy. It's only the local Black businesses that I know of that have been, barred from putting their products and being recognized in this Black History Museum in Niagara Falls. So it's been crazy. So I actually just did a Facebook Live video before I came on the show. That's why I was a little late. I actually just finished it 5 minutes before I came on here. So I was hot.
You just mad
I
'cause
probably
I
was
be
stuttering.
on here.
I probably was stuttering through the whole damn thing because I was so damn aggravated.
Yeah. I was trying to click on it. I couldn't get on it.
Man, I ain't playing with these folks. Well, that's
right,
how my week has
Christine.
been.
Nothing extravagant. I got a promotion on my job. I'm excited about that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You taking us all to dinner?
Yeah.
Taking us to lunch? Breakfast? You taking us to breakfast? You're not
I
a
ain't even
breakfast
got this
person.
first check yet. Now, come on.
Yeah, that's crazy, but that's good.
I'm gonna come down here and
Congratulations.
celebrate with you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Keep
And
rolling.
you said you haven't been here that long either, right?
January. Started in January.
This January.
Keep
Wow.
moving.
Look at you.
Yep.
Look at you. Congratulations. They see it. They see what you got to offer. That's a good thing.
It feels good. It feels
That's
good.
it.
Yeah, that's definitely good stuff.
Breakfast
right
on Christine. Breakfast on Christine.
there. Oh yeah, we coming for sure.
Ooh.
No wine in the box either, Christine.
Well, it's breakfast. We'll have to do champagne.
That's right. We're gonna toast it
Do
up.
they serve
Popping
champagne in the
I was
bottles.
gonna say some people wake up drinking wine.
Shh, they don't know me.
Oh, we gonna
Right.
dive right into it because like I said, we got a lot on the plate. So talk to me, people, about this son's husband thing. Is this really real, or is it just us just making up stuff? Because
That is
sometimes,
definitely real.
yeah, because sometimes the people
I
that
cannot
respond in the
argue
counselor's
that point
corner.
at all.
Yeah.
I've
So tell
seen
me,
it. It's
talk
detrimental.
to us.
It can be detrimental. Man, I've seen it up close and personal. It wasn't me, by the way, but I have definitely seen it. I've seen it where the young man wasn't even living at home anymore, and his mama would call and be like, come cut my grass, come take out my trash, come do this, come do that. And he'd jump up and do it before he took care of where he laid his head. So, which of course created problems in his relationship. So
I like the example that
you just see where this young man is not maturing He is not maturing. He's like stuck at acting like roughly about an 18, 19-year-old, and he's almost 30, you know?
But he's not encouraged to be either. Because if he
No,
matured, he would move away from that.
No, he's not,
If he
because
was
his mother
mature,
wanted to keep
because she's
control.
trying to keep him at that, right? That's
Yes.
my baby. That's my baby.
Yes.
And you gave a perfect example when you let in, Dave, when you talked about the movie Baby Boy. That movie basically says it all right there. That's basically what it is. The mother, you saw how he was with the mother, and then what did he do? When he did finally leave her, he went and found somebody just like his mother. Somebody who was going to cater to him. And you see how he had a fit because she got a new boyfriend.
Yes.
He had a fit, rode over on his bike, and all that crazy. Yeah, but that's what you have. That movie Baby Boy was a perfect lead-in example of what this topic is about. I actually have an uncle. I had an uncle. Well, I guess he's still alive. I had an uncle who was like that. My grandmother, her youngest son, she did the same thing with him. He could not do any wrong. That was her baby. And then when she passed away, she left in her will that, he had to be taken care of because she took care of him the entire time. That when she passed, she was like, y'all take care of him. And he ended up moving away. And because one family member had to control his money because he didn't know how to manage his money, and he would use it and get drugs and different things. Another family member had to go by there and make sure he ate because she cooked every day for him. Now, when she passed away, he was literally, I want to say, in his late 30s. He was still living at her house. Living, sleeping, slept all day. He would get up, 11, 12, 1 o'clock.
Sleep all day.
Afternoon. Yeah. He would sleep all day and then get up and go wherever he had to go, and then come back home. And when he would do things, she would say, well, you know how he is. That's just how she always made excuses for anything that he did. And when she passed away, she left that message. Y'all have to take care of him now. And that movie Baby Boy is a perfect example.
Yeah, but I think it's I don't think it's a growing trend. I think it's been there for a long time. It's been an issue for a long time. It's not necessarily a growing trend.
Well, even though it might have been there for a long time, but if it's increasing, it's growing. It's still growing. And I think a lot of people, that's the route they take it. I like the example that my man JC Wright had posted in one of the posts I did this week when he said he was at a homecoming game with his daughter, and it appeared to be a mother, maybe a 16-year-old son that was about 6'1", 220 pounds. And he said his daughter whispered in his ear, like, that has to be his stepdad or the mother's boyfriend, because the boy was like literally laying in his mother's lap on her shoulders and acting like a big baby. And she was like, that can't be his dad, because if it was his dad, I'm sure dad would say, you don't get your big overgrown ass out your mother's lap like that. But I thought that was a good scenario. And maybe some boys do it just to mock their territory and let, like in Baby Boy, like, listen here, Melvin, this is my mother, my woman.
Exactly.
You're not about to get close to her. I'm still her baby, no matter what. But we got a new panelist coming on here. Make sure, Sire, is that how you pronounce it?
Sire or Sir Tice, brother. What's good?
What's good, man? I know you be roasted in the comments all the time.
No, I mean, I don't. First of all, first and foremost, good evening. Salute to the panel. I think that's Christine. What up, Big Bad Wolf? Dave, all you guys, so salute.
What's going on, Satai?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Happy Monday to you all. Pardon my voice or whatever. did a little Halloween thing yesterday and watched football. So just kind of wrapping it up. I caught the early part where you talk about relationships, and then you're kind of talking about this. I call them son husbands, right? So that's what we were kind of discussing, right?
Yeah,
son husbands. When you're saying about the marking the territory, I guess on a lower level, here's my question. And this is why I go so hard on this in the group, okay? In Baby Boy, Ving Rhames' character, what did he do? He moved in with the woman, okay? You got many people in that group who are like, no disrespect or whatever, many people in that group who see no issue with this. And I've always said that the easiest way to solve a problem is to not get into it in the first place. But on a surface level, men should not be moving in with women, okay? It creates a very bad power dynamic. And outside of being a property manager at one point in my life, I can arguably say just even my own experience, but also just as a property manager, having seen this, I'm not doing that now. I'm in IT. Not that that matters, but the point I'm saying, it rarely ever leads to anything substantive. Now, as this ties within the Baby Boy, or such as you guys described, or the son husband, it was something that you just said that just triggered a thought in me. Usually mothers, listen, I want to be clear. There's a difference between a baby mama, a widow, a woman who's been married, an experience, just because you were a single parent, I don't put you in the baby daddy or baby father character. You get my point, or baby mama angle. But let me just cut to the chase. Usually a mother, especially in my day, I think we're all Gen Xers, right? Question. That's a question. We're all Gen Xers, right?
Yeah.
We're not all Gen Xers.
I mean,
everyone except for Willie, I believe.
It's nothing to be embarrassed about. Shit, I'm gonna be 50 in 8 months.
I'm just listening.
Yeah. So no, I'm saying so we're all Gen Xers. So we're part of that last generation that saw 2-parent families, right? Okay, coming up in the 80s. Even then, when we started to see the splinter, that woman made damn sure that boy was going to have an uncle, a good close friend, a man that's going to show him some manly things. I'm going to end on this. I used to date someone, well, you can read between the lines there. She had a son. Dude was about 6'3", 260. Okay. I've been playing sports my whole life. I'm like, yeah, what sports you like? I don't really like sports. Okay, you're one of these guys. And, that kind of shit. So one time I'm driving in the neighborhood and I see her pushing the lawnmower. And he's like 17 or 18 now. And I'm like, hey, what you doing? I'm like, oh, where's your son doing this? Oh, he upstairs doing this. And I'm like, I have my way around the house. So I'm like, let me go grab something to drink. I'm like, dude, you see your mother out there pushing a damn lawnmower? And he looked at me like basically, pligga, please. Like, you don't live here, which I never did, but I'm making a point. So the next year, I just couldn't deal with that kind of situation. So the next year, when he was graduating, she bought him, I get him backwards, but just stick with the point. She buys him an Escalade. And I'm like, why the hell are you buying an average student an Escalade? And she's like, I'm like, he's doing technically what he's supposed to do. In our generation, our graduation present was you got dinner or a party, right? You didn't get an extravagant gift, okay?
Yeah.
Right. So, of course, because he never had to do anything, 3 months later, he flips it and totals it. You know what she does? She gets him a Denali. And I'm like, okay, I can't deal with this. Cutting to the chase. I saw her girlfriend about 5 years later or whatever. I'm like, yeah, so what's up with so-and-so? She says, oh, she a grandmother now. And I'm like, I'm not surprised. I said, is he married? He's like, what you think? And I'm like, of course not. She said, yeah, she raises the kid now. And I said, she raises the kid. So she don't even get a chance to be a grandparent. She got to be a parent again because she raised this irresponsible baby boy type, who he's doing adult things, but clearly he's not an adult.
Wow, that's a lot. Anybody else want to
And
add
that's what
to
you
that?
have a lot of times. You often you
That's
will
tragic.
find that the mother will step in and raise the child because she knows that son or that whoever the child is isn't going to step up. Is not going because she basically didn't raise him to be a parent. She raised him to be her partner, to be there in the house. And like in the movie Baby Boy, like you were mentioning, though, when she moved him into the house, she moved him into the house because he was replacing the boy. And so when the boy got kicked out of the girl's house and went back, then there was that conflict because he had been replaced in the household. But that was why he was there. He had just I think he had started his own business and he had just got out of prison, but he was living with her because he was basically the replacement of the son. And she catered to him. She was doing all the catering to him, just like she did to the son. But I mean, you find that so often where a mother will do that. She'll take that child that son has had and raise it and take care of because she knows son is going to take care of him.
Let me be
She
clear.
knows he's not going to do what. And he'll go out and make more. He'll go out and make more.
She's I would have had her buy me an Escalade too. You know, to be clear, this stuff goes across racial bounds. I've seen this.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with it.
You know,
Yeah, because
That
didn't it
doesn't do with
start
race.
like with other cultures when the father was living in another country and the eldest son would be the one that would kind of replace him while dad was away
Take
for a
over the
year or
family.
2 years. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
but I think it's
Yeah,
just
but-
taken to a different level now.
But
Right,
in those
exactly.
cultures, they didn't do. The mother wasn't treating him like he was her husband. You know what I mean? She wasn't.
Exactly.
She was because she was treating him as the man of the house because he was taking the role of the man in the house until the man came back or because the man had passed away.
So
That culture is totally different.
I think
from
that
what you
is
have
different
now.
because there's an understanding there that this is temporary. This is
Right. You're
filling
You're
in
not.
your-
You're not my
you're-
man now.
you're literally
You're not my
filling
man.
in your dad's shoes.
He's also doing the various
Right.
chores and such that a man is doing. Okay, he's actually running and maintaining that household. Okay, I mean, my example I said was extreme, but you literally got guys out
But it
here
really wasn't.
that don't know how to change tires. Okay,
Yes, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Hold up. I never changed the tire, but that's a different story. though.
well, I'm gonna
If
Lord,
you
Dave.
can't change a tire, just tell me you got AAA or something.
no, I'm gonna take you to tire change in college. Okay, I got a friend. All right, it's something. It's too. If your literate men can do it, you can do it.
I'm sure if I took the time to do it, I could do it. I just never had to do it.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, true.
But there's
Yeah, I'm a
another aspect of that that was discussed in one of the discussions, and it kind of developed from the I don't need a man, but you have your sons doing everything that man would have, that you would have wanted a man to do, or what you would have expected a man to do. Your son is fixing things around the house. Your son is he's just catering to those type of needs. Your son is fixing your car. Your son is doing so, and you're using that, taking out the trash, right, as a kind of hiding behind that when you say, I don't need a man. That was just something that's just another perspective that was brought up in one of the discussions on the Counselor's Corner.
Okay.
Eventually, the man, listen, here's the thing. Life isn't supposed to be easy or comfortable. You know, I think we've made the world way too comfortable, you know, even from just going to this thermostat here and changing our temperature. You know, before you have to cut wood yourself, go outside and toss that in the fireplace, you know. And why am I saying this? There are no rites of passages for men anymore. Men, a lot of This is gonna be. What am I trying to say? I don't want to dress this up the right way. This is gonna be kind of controversial. Well, it's not controversial. Women look for security. Men should be seeking out stability. Pardon me, not stability. Men should be taking risk. Okay, because there's nothing in life that is worthwhile having. I see Dr. Anwar, Michigan State, baby. Anyways, no, he's a Michigan graduate. That's
Whatever.
yeah.
Well, that's not professional at all, Herb.
Yeah. So
Hey, y'all still our little brothers. Whatever.
no. That's some old bullshit buckle stuff. But let me know. I was just about to cook on this. And he did that deliberately. That's what those Wolverine fans do. No, women want security, and guess what? That's perfectly fine because the nurturer is her role. That doesn't mean that she can't be assertive or anything like that. Men need to take risks because whatever it is, whether it's becoming a doctor or anything in life, it requires hard work. What the problem with this whole son husband is, I know someone who kept her son, well, I want him to be on my insurance because my insurance is better. He's 26 effing years old. He need to get something out here whereas he can learn how this is done. When my father was 26 years old, he had 2 kids. My grandfather had 8. These kids are being too protected and bubble. Yeah. There's some background. And the bubble wrapping does not help. And this is where I will agree with the modern women on when they say that there's a lot of males that aren't men. And they're not because they haven't done anything. Right. Just going to school, walking to campus doesn't mean you're a man. What? Okay, so you got a sheepskin, big effing deal. What have you done to test yourself? And that constantly protecting them, keeping them away from danger. No, you as a man sometimes got to walk with the wolves.
It's true.
I agree. The funny thing, and I believe I told this story before. When I was in a foster home in Arcot, I was about 10 or 11. The gentleman that I was staying with had lost his job. Now, this is at a point in time where I didn't know you could actually lose a job. I didn't, how do you lose a job? I mean, what's that? And the way he provided for his family was he went out and laid blacktop. And I'm talking blacktop and with a wheelbarrow and a shovel. This is before automation and the machines took over where it was all done mechanically. That was my first foray into understanding what it was and what it took to be a man. And that was a lesson I had never, ever forgotten to this day. And to what Sir Tyson's saying, there's a lot of young men out here in their mid-30s, in their mid-20s to mid-30s, Gen Zs and Zillennials, who don't know how to use an axe. Like he said, can't change a tire, can't read a ruler, can't use power tools, couldn't do anything around the house constructive. And this is why you have a lot of women that when asked, what do they bring to the table? They counter, well, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this?
Wardrobe change.
You got it, Sparty. You got it, Sparty.
We didn't get to the second question. Yeah, he did a wardrobe change.
What is he laughing about? I don't know. What
I'm a Michigan fan.
I'm sure Anwar about to come on with the Michigan gear.
Oh Lord! So we know what happens if Herb's screen goes dark. He's I
got nothing to say right now. They sit in the top. I got nothing to say. I got to yield.
Somebody asked, what's the balance? I believe. Didn't I see that?
What's the balance? The balance is to allow that young man to be reared,
I'd like to know where the balance
or at least instructed by somebody who's a familial, male familiar relative. That's the balance. You can't. Men by nature are built for competition.
And set boundaries.
Stronger, faster.
And what?
There's no getting by that.
Boundary.
I just saw a clip on YouTube where there was an MMA mixed martial arts battle between a female and a transgender man. That transgender man beat her sisters before they stopped the fight. And this is the notion that we have to get the world at large to understand is no matter how much we tinker with the social dynamic, you're never going to get past the biological element that men are stronger. We're built differently for different reasons. And that's the dynamic that you can't escape. So while we have a segment of women who are trying to raise these kids to be good people, they fail at being men. So when their daughters grew up to be of age, they look around and their male cohorts, they're woefully lacking. And I understand when they say, you know what, there's a shortage of available men, because for them, there is.
But I think having been a single mother, that is our aim, to raise our children to be good people. But as I don't remember which one of you said it, because I don't believe in the whole, a woman can't raise a boy to be a man and vice versa. However,
she can't.
Can I finish?
Let her cook. Let her cook.
As that mother raising sons or fathers raising daughters, part of your job to get them from boy to man or from girl to woman is to, as somebody said, to put those people in front of them, put them in place in their life. You're responsible for that. Those male figures that will give them the example they need on how to be a man. It's same with the woman. So it is, in my opinion, that's part of raising your son to be a man, is by giving them the proper examples. So you don't just put some hood dude in front of your child and expect them to somehow be a college graduate and all this stuff when you've just put, you put trash in front of them and then expect them to somehow be different.
Mm-hmm.
Can I follow up on that?
Mm-hmm.
I know you didn't mean it this way. Let me say this. When I was coming up, the hood guys, they all weren't bad. Some of them recognized the talented guys and was like, listen,
right,
you don't do this. You don't do
and
this.
I agree with you. I agree with you. So I didn't mean to say it.
No,
like
I'm not saying you did. I was just using it to build into a point. It was something that Big Bad Wolf just said, and I was going to say, go ahead, Christine. I'll remember it because it was something very important. Oh, here's the thing. We've gotten away from competition, okay? Competition is a part of life. And women are very competitive when it comes to the things that they generally want. We know that, but I'm just talking about in general. Here's the sad reality. Let's pretend that, I'm trying to think of the non-buzzword to say, let's just pretend G-Hay didn't exist. Everybody was sane. Everyone paired up. I'm talking about Black people now. There would still be 2 million women without a man, okay? I'm addressing this whole man shortage.
Right.
Okay? There would still be 2 million. My take is it's very similar to a job. Your average position gets 100 applicants, even nowadays, which is astounding in that. Your average position gets that. What are you going to do to stand out to get to that type of man? All the type of women who say there aren't good men, whatever good is relative, but there aren't these kind of men out here. I asked them a couple of questions, and one is, where do you typically go and hang out or whatever? What do you do? And they say they go out, places I call Negro places of buffoonery, generally speaking. I attend them sometime too, but what are your hobbies? And usually it's Netflixing, watching these reality shows. They're not doing anything, going out hiking or what have you. Typically, that's when you meet the person of your interest, and it's also very easier to talk to them because that's not that.
That's not me.
That's not me. But you get my point in that a lot of these people who say this, it's like, are you putting yourself even in position to meet these men? And then if you did, what would you do with them? You know, so as a kid say, I think a lot of that is all cap.
Now,
Yeah.
I feel like this because I do agree with you. I can even remember in my younger days, well, even now, because I talk to women about this all the time. Like, you don't have any kind of a strategy. You think somebody gonna knock on your door, you know? And then
They do.
like you just said, the type of man you're meeting. Well, if you're not meeting what you like in the club, maybe you should try somewhere else. Just saying. So I get all that. But as it like you said about competition, we live in the age of, like, for example, the YMCA. No, there are no losers. Everybody gets a trophy. Life work like that. Actual life does not work like that.
We've talked about this on the show before.
This is an anecdotal. I think if this is the same person from the show from the group, your anecdotal experiences doesn't extrapolate to the whole. We understand. Listen, there are tiger moms out there who I think are excellent, but are they the majority? Heck no. So we know what the ideal circumstance is, and why do we run away from that? That's my point.
Yeah, and you make a good point with that, because a lot of times you hear people say, well, that's not my experience. But you got to think, like, maybe that's not your experience. You was one of the exceptions to the rule, but it's a whole other people. If you wake up and look around, you'll see that other people are struggling with this.
Or maybe you're not recognizing where your help came from.
Oh,
It's true too.
now that's interesting. Never thought about that.
I mean, did your sons had no teachers, no male teachers, no male coaches? You know,
That's for you, Vicky Moore. That's for you, Vicky.
Who's the counselor on here? I think that's David, right?
Yes, sir.
So I was going to ask a question angle to this, but you guys had another topic, so I'll let's go. But it was something about the amount of men that are in the successful boys' lives that get completely ignored, get no credit, and these guys continue to go out there and do it. You know, I tried it. I did this for 15 years trying to coach, what have you. And the last 5 years, it was, I would talk to my uncles and my fathers like, yeah, when y'all did this, did y'all deal with arguing with mothers about playing time? Or their son should get hit? MFer, he's a boxer. He's gonna get hit. I mean, I can't begin to tell you or how I'm gonna, I don't understand. Shout out to these guys who's willing to do it with a lot of these modern mothers today. I couldn't do it anymore. And at first I felt guilty, like, oh man, I'm running away from the community. But I'm not running away from a damn thing that didn't give me anything. Okay, I gave back, So you're going to say something, Christine.
Yeah. What you just said about how some mothers react about their child getting hit, and I will admit that's where a man balances out a woman. And I might have even told this story before. When I was married and my son, my firstborn, was a baby, he was like he was a toddler. Anyway, we were over a friend's house. My son's outside playing. He fell. He was like 2, 2.5. I darted for the door to go pick my baby up and, pick him up and hold him and comfort him and dust his knee off. And my ex-husband was like, whoa.
That's what mother's supposed to do, though. Right.
Yes.
That's the mother's role, though.
But I mean, he stopped me. I can't tell you how mad I was. He stopped me. He picked my son up, stood him up, shook him like this and said, all right, son, shake it off and go play.
Right.
And my son turned around and
Keep going.
and went back and played. I knew in that self same moment, had I picked that child up, he would have been bawling.
Right.
And I would have been just comforting him,
but
and what have you. So he really, I'll give that man his props. He set the stage from, raising my son and then eventually my younger son. So I understood, number one, the durability of little boys, and that they didn't need all that, but
we talked about that.
That was balance
before, about women raised with emotion and men raised with thought.
Yeah,
and that's what you find is a lot of times when you saw him fail, your emotions came out, and the father's thought came out that, okay, boy, get up, because the saying, boys don't cry. Boys don't cry. But like you said, if you would have picked him up,
so mad at him.
Can I add?
Right, because you're thinking emotion, he's thinking with that thought.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem you have nowadays when you have these women. When you say, and we talked when you said earlier about women can't raise a boy to be a man. You really can't raise a boy to be a man, because you don't raise them with the mind frame of a man. You raise them what you think a man should be like, but that's based on your ideal of a man. That's not, you know what I mean? So you're raised with that idea, but you're also raising with a lot of emotion. And that's where the comes in.
Hey, I know you guys want to go to the next topic, but I want to add to something that she said. I said, man, one of the biggest things you can notice between men and women, think about like a summer picnic, right? But I'm giving you an actual scenario. So I don't have children, but it's a picnic. All the fellas go to and play dominoes or spades or whatever on the table. And then the little kids go somewhere, and then all the mothers, are, preparing the food and such. And you will see this at damn near every picnic. One of the little kids will fall, and then you'll hear some crying, and all the women run to the kid. All of them run to the kid. Where all the fellas is like, "Is that my kid? Is that my kid?" God damn. Hey man, don't look at my bones, man, while I'm gone. You good? You good? You good, Short? All right. Am I lying?
That's true.
Now, from that incident, I did learn to be that way. I did learn to be that way from that incident, when I realized, okay, this thing is not going to die because he fell. He's right. He shook it off and sent him back. That's less work for me. So from that moment on, it was a wrap. I got it.
Two situations I'll reference, and I'm sure David will definitely confirm. One is with Joey Porter. When his kids brought home participation trophies, he took them trophies and destroyed them. He said, "We do not raise losers in this family." He said, either you finish first, you get a trophy, or you don't get anything at all. And for that, I revered that man. I said, this is what a man instills in his children, is to go out, perform, and do your best. And if your best is good enough, be satisfied with that. But you're not just going to get something for doing something. You have to earn trophies. Trophies are reserved for winners. And the second thing, in the movie Friday, with I can't remember his name, that played Ice Cube's father. When Debo was beating him down, when Debo was beating him down, he said, "Get up. Get up. Don't lay there." He said, "You always get up and live to fight another day. Don't take that gun out there." Same thing that Lawrence Fishburne did and Boys in the Hood. That's where the masculine element comes in that women don't really think about. And there's one other movie too, which is The Road to Perdition. If you like, I mentioned it before. If you haven't seen it, look at it. It's an excellent movie with Tom Hanks and his son when they were on the run. 3 examples of what masculine men do for their sons.
Road to Perdition.
Road to Perdition. Excellent movie.
So one of the things, when you like you said, as far as the trophy thing, when everybody gets a trophy for just participating, it takes away that again, like we had mentioned earlier, the element of competition.
It
I
takes
remember-
away the hunger.
Yeah. I remember when I first started off in little league football. The first year I didn't get no time. It was my first year, but I said over that summer and throughout that time, I was gonna come back bigger and better. And the next year I got most improved. So they used to have those type of trophies to kind of give you something that
Incentive.
gauge your level.
Right.
But if you all get the same thing and they say no, there's no MVP, we're all MVP, it takes away, because like you said earlier, Christine, or maybe Sir Tice, that's not real life, whatever. There's going to be people ahead of the game, they're going to get promotions, and you're going to get the minimum raise, and there's going to be people who get
for putting forth minimum effort,
year.
you're going to get minimum results. So no sense in lying to the kids.
And I think
if you watch television nowadays, you'll see that whole that mindset. And it's funny you mentioned that about people, getting rewarded for things. And it was a movie. It was Law and Order. I think I was watching, and it was a situation where this woman, she had won this competition, and her product was selected to be, whatever it was the product was. The guy who was upset because he didn't beat her and didn't win the product ended up killing her. So he could have his product, and his product was to replace her product after she was killed. And when they found out he killed her, that was his excuse, is that he couldn't beat her. And because he couldn't beat her, he was upset that she won the prize, so he killed her so he could get the prize. And that's the mindset you have when you have these kids who don't know how to accept losing, because like you said, everybody's supposed to be a winner. So everybody's a winner. So when you do lose, you don't know how to respond to it. Right. You act out in ways that you normally wouldn't have acted out if you weren't given that mindset. Everybody gets a prize all the time.
You guys just really,
and that's the biggest problem. They don't know how to accept losing. They don't know how to accept loss or know how to thank somebody, even when they lose. And they don't thank the other, they don't congratulate the other person, because they're not taught to congratulate somebody for winning. Right. They walk around mad, and they have attitudes and everything else.
This is why I don't like sportsmanship. Let it be natural. Hey, I'm a Piston fan. They love to mention that about us, that we walked off the court in 91. We did, but Boston did it with us. No one mentions that. I don't want to get too deep into the sport rabbit hole, but this is exactly why in the recipe you guys just laid out that we have this entitlement mentality. Listen, life isn't fair. Sometimes you're going to have the best presentation or best product, and you're still going to lose. Now, when it happens when you're young, you either learn first, you're going to throw a hissy fit, but then you're going to learn, okay, life isn't fair in this. And this is exactly why we have so much entitlement mentality right now. Everybody thinks I love reading this response, because I deserve it. You don't deserve a damn thing. You deserve what you work for. Okay. And if you didn't, you still might not get it. Now what? Life, I don't know where this, and it comes from, I think it personally comes from too much television, but go ahead.
We're going to move to the next one because we got, like I said, quite a bit to cover in the next topic or session dealt with when a relationship ends. Do you ever take time out to think, what could you have done differently to save the relationship? And like when I mentioned in the introduction, a lot of times people just maybe jump into the next relationship and they never really reflect, or they're chasing that silver bullet thinking they're going to find something greater, in which maybe a whole nother catastrophe. So sometimes you have to take some time to say, man, maybe if I did this, or maybe she had a point or he had a point, maybe we could have worked it out. So that's just my take. Y'all can take it from there.
Well, that's true what you said. But
I'll
also,
let you
what you
guys
find
go
too
because-
is that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll let y'all go. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I've told the story about me in the 6-year hiatus I took from dating, and in that 6 years I had to do a lot of reflecting and genuflecting and soul searching as to why I was selecting the type of people that I was to date, and it was often what I found out was I was dating broken people trying to repair them, and in that I realized that it wasn't always something that I did or didn't do or could have done to fix a relationship. It was just sometimes the people that we choose to date aren't compatible for us. And we spend so much time thinking, what could I have done differently, when sometimes it's not necessarily what you could have done differently as opposed to who you could have chosen. So I think that's something, in the mix of that's often kind of pushed to the side and not really, looked at and focused on. So it's just imagine a situation where every decision you make is the correct decision and it still turns out bad. You say, well, what else can I do? Nothing. You did everything that you were supposed to do. It just didn't turn out right.
Doing the right thing with the wrong person.
Right. But sometimes you can think to yourself too, not so much what did I do wrong, but why did I stay in it so long? Because a lot of times it's not the right situation. But what people will do, they'll get complacent and they'll stay in that relationship waiting for what they think they want to come along. And as a result of that, they find that they will allow themselves to sit in a relationship that they know isn't for them. So what could I have done differently? I could have gotten out of this and waited and took time to get myself together and be ready for that person when they came. But now you jump from one relationship to another relationship, and now you're thinking, what could I have done differently? Or you get with this person, you have these expectations. But a lot of times, because you've been in that previous relationship so long, you get with this new person, but you're looking for some of the qualities that the old person had also.
I think it's always good to take some time to reflect after a relationship. I never think it's a good idea to just jump into another relationship. I think that's a huge mistake.
Of people don't.
Yeah, but part of the problem,
you have people that actually, when you say jump, they don't even jump, because a lot of times they've been dealing with somebody, waiting to see where it was going to go while they're with the other person anyways. So they're not even jumping. They're shifting. Yeah, they're shifting. And the wait to see if it work out. And if it don't work out, then they'll continue to settle with that person who they know they really don't want to be with. And then they'll jump again, they'll meet somebody else. They're always out looking. So they got one eye out the door and one eye on the person, just making sure they don't get too far away, just in case the other person don't work out.
This is typically why when a woman breaks up with a man, she already has someone standing in bay.
Exactly.
Typically.
Already got him waiting.
This is where y'all gonna pelt me with tomatoes on this one. Okay, so
I got mine ready.
You get tomatoes. I think most modern relationships are a utter abysmal joke. And if it's over 2 years and you guys haven't gone to a union and you're just playing house and it's all BS anyway. And the reason I say that is that when you guys talk about bringing in pain from one relationship to another or taking time off, we have to ask, what is the purpose of a relationship in the first place? I mentioned in the group that people don't recognize that dating is less than 100 years old. Before, you used to marry to create a family, start a farm and such. And yes, I have data on this, but basically dating as we know it is post-World War things. When people went out, yes, they did meet people, but it wasn't like this. I'm going to try this person, then I'm going to try this person, I'm going to try this person. Typically, you met someone that was vouched for by the family. So it was somewhat of a arranged situation, loosely. Yeah, but the problem I'm seeing now is that this is, like I said, this is going to get dicey. we never talk
like
about
Dicey here.
Yeah, we never talk about class-related issues as it relates to dating. This doesn't mean, I don't want to get into that simplistic bougie versus hood. No, there's many more grades in this. I held up a book. It's by the great Dr. George Sapria. This book came out in the 90s. It was way ahead of his time. He's passed away right now, but you can see some of his lectures on YouTube. But he's the one who had put me on this whole concept of class. And content creators like Ron Wills also talks about this. Shout out to Ron Wills. When I say class, what I'm referring to is if you have one person who grew up with a mother, let me be clear, an engaged mother and father, then you have one person who may have come up from a broken environment. That doesn't mean that they can't find a person, but they have to recognize, hey, this wasn't the best situation that I came up in. I'm going to damn sure make sure that I don't recreate what my parents laid out for me. But unfortunately, the path of least resistance is what we generally take. So how the drama that we see in the household, we're going to look for somebody that brings that. I mean, you're not actively saying, hey, I want someone to have drama, like a very simplistic example.
But that's what normal looks like to you.
Right. A very simplistic example is hate effing.
Mhm.
Okay. She will deliberately say something mad because she's subliminally programmed that this is what you do to have engagement. Then they hate F. And now you have an anchor, that's an NLP concept or whatever. Now you have an anchor that associates pleasure with pain, and it's messed up. So just getting back to this with relationships, we have to ask, I mean, I say this, people should be honest with themselves. Are you dating this person because you find them attractive and you like being alone with them? Or do you see a future with this person? If you don't see a long-term future with this person, then you're just going through an exercise of futility. When we start, at least, I hate this term, but I got to say, when we at least start dating with a purpose, then I believe a lot of these things will be minimized. Talk about this person's background. Like, people get mad when I say this, but oh well. I don't date women on a serious level that didn't have a father in their life, okay? They didn't have to be married or whatever. Was your father involved in your life or whatever? Well, this. I look around, I see, okay, she's got a sister that's got, I mean, this is more when I was younger, particularly, but I'm like, when I was 26 years old, I go in somebody's house. The mother looks damn near like her, like a few years to damn near be her older sister. The young girl got a kid. The mother had her young, and then a younger sibling has a kid. Okay, this tells me they don't frown upon this kind of behavior, And I see the mother out at the same spots I go to. You see what I'm saying? Again, that's an extreme example. But I just think that the way we approach dating now, what I advise women is the same thing with me. Look at his structure. What was this? I'm not saying everybody, listen, we can't choose our parents, but we damn sure can choose our mates. And we need to exercise and stop acting like everything is just so random, out here. These hoes, all thoughts. These men ain't nothing. We all play a part in this. So are we really going to be honest about it? And the real honesty about it is many people just don't want to be alone. Winter's here. Well, for mostly you, not us in Florida, whatever. But winter's here, and we what do you call it? Snuggle babies.
Cuffing season.
Huh?
Cuffing season.
Cuffing season.
Cuffing season.
And it's sad that it's like this, but that's just my take on it.
All right. Let me ask this question. So when someone tells you why they broke up with you, do you take offense or do you look at it as constructive criticism?
Repeat that last question.
When they tell you that they broke up?
I said, when someone tells you why they broke up with you, do you take offense or do you look at it as constructive criticism?
It depends on how they say it. Depends on how they say it. Well, it depends on how they say it and what they say, because some people may tell you why they broke up with you and they might say it in a way to hurt you. So it depends on, if they're saying it if the person cares about you and they're saying that constructively because you know it didn't work out with y'all, but they don't want you to make the same mistake in the next relationship, and they're being constructive and trying to, you know, work, you know, help you out. But then that's a rarity. A lot of times a person, especially a woman, will say that to say something like that to hurt you. This is why I left you. This is why I went to the other guy. This is why I cheated. This is why I did whatever I did, is because you whatever. And they'll say it in a way to demean you, to make you feel belittled. So, you know, again, it depends on how the person says it and what their rationale for saying it. You know, some people will say it to help you, and some will say it intentionally to hurt you.
So when you say women say it like that, Willie, how do you think men? Or is it usually the women that break up with the men?
If you think about it, most men don't normally tell you why they broke up with you. They'll just disappear and go get with somebody else. And then you ask them why. They say, you know, they well, you weren't acting right. You weren't listening to me. You know what I mean? It's something that they did, but they won't go into detail because they really don't know how to explain why they did what they did. Or they don't, or they're thinking about what they did and it don't make sense, the reason why they did what they did. Because a lot of times for men, now see that look on your face, Christine, because women think with emotion, men think with thought.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Right, exactly. And that's why I saw your look on your face. And like I said, men think with thought. So we'll do something. And then when you say, well, why did you do X, Y, Z? Before we answer you, we're thinking about, well, why did I do it? And then the shit don't make sense. And we're like, well, I don't know why I did. Okay, but
you're talking about a breakup.
Right.
So
in a breakup, a lot of times,
if you broke up with somebody, you couldn't explain to them why. A lot of times
we don't break up. A lot of times we don't break up. We just move on, or we'll stay with you until you get tired of us and tell us it's over. Most men don't break up with the women. It's normally the woman that's getting fed up to the point where she'll break up with the guy. Most guys don't break up with women. Just like they say with divorces. Most of the divorces are done by women. They're not done by the men. The men will sit and take bullshit. They'll sit and take most of the bullshit, and they'll put up with it because they don't want to move on. They don't want to have to deal with what they just went through with somebody else. So they'll sit and deal with that relationship for as long as they can.
So if you're miserable in a relationship, just stay there. Just be in it.
Huh?
No, but I don't know where that came from.
Well,
a lot of men,
I'm going off of what he's saying. How
most women are the ones that
are not the ones that leave a relationship. Are the ones that
break them off.
So I'm not even. I'm not talking about marriage. I'm talking about
relationships.
A relationship.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I think
the thing break off. If you look at history, if you look at the statistics, like I said, just like divorce, when you look at the statistics of divorce, women are the ones who get the divorce. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's the same way with dating. The man won't push that issue. He won't push it to that point where, unless it's to the point where it becomes maybe an abusive relationship where she's abusing him. Because if he's abusing her, he ain't going nowhere anyway. He's gonna still do that. You know, he's gonna stay there and do that. But if she's abusing him, or if she cheats on him, I'll take a good example. If she cheats on him because of his ego, he may leave.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason why he might leave.
Hold on a second. May?
Because of her cheating.
May?
Because of her cheating. Not so much.
This is I'm saying you said if she cheats on him, he may leave. he need to be hiding that immediately. Shout out to Bernie Mac.
And a lot, you got to remember what men we were talking about earlier. The one who was raised in a situation where he's been catered to by the mother. So because he's been catered to by the mother, that woman might cheat on him, and he still won't go anywhere because he hasn't found a replacement of that mother to move on with.
Dave,
So
that last comment you can highlight that.
He may stay and deal with that. He may not want to be there, but he'll still stay and deal with her because he hasn't found a replacement. But once he finds that replacement, he's going to move on. But he's not going to just, oh, you cheat on me, I'm out of here. He's not going to do that.
And that's, I've often said, why do women, okay, masculinity attracts, masculinity even attracts, what do you call them? I got to use the word here. What's the correct? Butches. All right. If you don't believe me, why do you think most butches imitate men? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking when you, and it's sad that we've gotten to a point that we equate masculinity with this he-man's, you know, all this nonsense. No, men that are assertive, directed. Hey, I don't have to say I said what I said. That's a female expression anyway. This is what it is. My way, no way. There's no explanation in this. So when I hear guys who stay in this, or you want to get the exit interview of what happened, it's like, it's over. You know, take that L, move on from it, because that effort that you're putting in your brain cells, thinking about what I could have done wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't reflect. Let me be clear. I'm not being so cocky like that. But you could be moving on to a situation where you're happier. No different than with a woman, okay? You know, when these things, a lot of people, and I'm not now, abusive relationships and all that, that's a whole nother animal, in my opinion. It kind of blows me away in 2021 that I still hear stories of people talking about, I was in an abusive relationship. And I'm like, with all this information out there, this is the choice, or all these options out here, this is the choice you made. But so, like I said, people do often choose the path of least resistance. And there's nothing wrong with being alone, okay? Being alone is great. You know, I was in a scenario where I was dating a woman. She was from Ethiopia, okay? So their culture is different. She wanted to break, or she broke up, but it was because she wanted to get married. I had no plans. I wasn't ready to get married, but in their culture is very different in that I'm not saying them all, whatever, but you know, the majority of them, you know, their relationships are based on going onto a long-term thing. And after 4 months, I didn't want to jump into marriage, you know, be with somebody who I eventually did. Huh? Yeah, it was like that. But
I said, oh wow, that's quick.
Yeah, but also in their culture, if they know your parents, they feel like they know you. So she knew my mother.
Yeah, been vetted.
But I guess what I'm just saying is that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a, you know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sir Tice.
No, I was pretty much done in that. I just think that sometimes we approach things, you know, like I said, I don't really care about the exit interview. Here, let me say it like this. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but if I'm with somebody, I'm not going to be doing anything to take away from the relationship. So 99% is going to be her fault, you know, so.
I feel you on that. That's where I live. Yep. I can feel you on that. Every time it was their fault, without a doubt.
I can't believe some of the things that
I know. You know, the funny thing about it is, I've actually left some relationships in my life, you know, without really disclosing why I left. I'm just like, you figure it out. And some people say that's wrong. I'm just like, there comes a certain point in time where an adult, and I'm speaking somebody, you know, at least 25 years of age or older, you know, has to either use a pot or get off of it. I mean, because if you're just standing there spinning your wheels and you're not doing anything, then you just wasting other people's time. And you know, some people don't mind being a placeholder. You know, as comment that was highlighted earlier said, some people just would rather be in a miserable relationship as opposed to just being with somebody. I mean, being alone.
Serial monogamy.
I can't do that. You know, I'd rather be alone.
Yeah, serial monogamy.
You know, yeah. To me, there's nothing better than the thoughts running through my head. Sometimes I find somebody that is enjoyable enough to where I want to be with them when I want to listen to the thoughts in my head. That's not often, but it does happen. And when it does, I'll latch on to that individual. And, depending on what that individual wants, where I am in my life and what I want is going to determine, what we do. Now, a lot of women, they just don't want to get married. They say, well, what's the use of getting married if, I don't want to have kids or already have kids or adult kids? I'm just content with just you having your place. I have my place. When we want to get together, whether it's for social outing or physical activities, we do that and we go our own way. So, that's a lot of what it seems like modern relationships are delving or descending into, for lack of a better word. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what the 21st century yields in terms of relationships.
Well, let's look at the, I think it's already descended there. Let's look at, and here's what's scary. Look at your, not millennials, I think it's your zillennials. I think zillennials are like 15 and up. I could be wrong on that, but okay. So look at their approach to relationships, okay? It is completely different than our approach. Now, granted, they, in my opinion, are a little bit too young in a sense, but I have started reevaluating things like, why not get married at 22, 23? Hear me out. Yeah, you're just learning your way and all this, but in an ideal environment, that's what man and woman have done for thousands of years. It's only now that we think that we have to have this set before we do this. You know what I mean? I think I think the ship is too far gone. We can say all these logical points, but this all comes down to feelings and sexual arousal, quite frankly, and nobody wants to really address that. This is exactly why sometimes you'll see that corporate mogul of a woman, and on the side, you're like, that's who she's going out with on the side? That may not be her man that she chose, but that's the man who she gets with, if you know what I mean, read between those lines. I just think that we're too far gone. Too many people look at traditionalism as being negative and restrictive. Okay, so more of the background again. And I just think that ship has sailed. I know it's very nihilistic for me to say and very pessimistic, but I'm somebody who has lived in multiple places, traveled globally, and have seen how we approach things versus how it typically works. And I don't see any encouraging signs for this to improve.
So when you say like I don't even know the words you use. They keep coming up with all these damn millenniums, whatever the case is.
Millennials.
Yeah, so when you say when they're at the age of 15, and you think that they should be encouraged to get married at 22, but then you have a lot of.
Where's the women learning wife training? Where's the women learning how to do certain things? I remember vividly. My mother didn't have any daughters, but she would show my cousins or whatever these things, how to be a lady, all these kind of things. And guess what? All four of my female cousins in my age group have husbands.
But nobody's teaching that etiquette no more like that.
So with a 15-year-old now, with all this information that we have, where we've seen the destruction of the family, I get tired of people talking about the community. And I'm like, you don't have a community if you don't have families, you buffoon. Stop. You need to get back to families if you want to have a community. So they need to be looking at, that's why I always reference history. Not saying it was always perfect, but what worked then? What are we doing differently now? Let's find the middle gap into what worked.
Well, that's something I always talk about. You can't fix communities until you fix families. And that's where we have it wrong at. And then even by me working in the schools, they think that they can come up and put all this grant money out. And I'm like, we can do all this we want to in the schools. But if you're not fixing the families, none of that shit matters. Because they learn something in school, then they go home to crazy dysfunctional families, they just gonna still act up in the families and the community.
You want to see how out of whack it is? And again, this is a tomato. I'm ready for the tomatoes. Like I'm watching this NFL game right now. How many damn dudes in the league got hyphenated names right now? I mean, what the hell? I mean, I'm using this as an example. We can't even agree with the last name of our progeny, for crying out loud. Okay? And people wonder, why is that a big deal? Duh. It's your crest. It's your family. Well, I think that my family's name should be acknowledged too as the woman, as I was the, one who gave birth. This is not how it works. Why are we going against what has worked for over 1,000, 2,000 years? And people say, well, what's the big deal there? I'm sure you deal with this, David, in school, whatever, the woman comes in and she says her name and you're like, yeah, well, or she'll say, I'm Mark Smith's mother. Well, Mrs. Smith, my name's not Smith. And you're like,
yeah, that's true.
Christ, I'm just trying to be respectful to address you. I don't know. Actually, I do know when families, when it was just negative, I constantly say propaganda plays a big deal in all this. Many people don't understand. Back in the 70s and 80s, we watched TV generally in the evening. We still did things together. I'm talking about all of us. We played outside. We did family time. As the 80s progressed, we put more into the TV because the streets weren't safe, for kids. After, I want to say his name is Adam Walsh, John Walsh's son from America's Most Wanted. When he was killed, that's when the whole bubble wrap parent came. So now more kids are watching TV, getting their influence, not their families and such. And this makes people think from the TV that's being watched, oh, we don't need a family. Again, this is going to sound ultra conservative, but I'm going to go here. I remember vividly when Dan Quayle, who was vice president, nobody liked him. Everybody thought he was an idiot. And he rambled on about Murphy Brown. I don't know if you guys remember this about Murphy Brown being a single mother. And this is being celebrated. He's coming in. They're like, oh, you old this. This is not Ward Cleaver and all this. And now come 30 years later, we're finding out he was right. Of all people, I'm not saying he was a prophet or whatever. I'm simply saying that Murphy Brown was a career woman. She was successful. She was popular. She was on a news show. People start emulating these things. I can give you another one. In New York Undercover, the Malik, well, of all people, I'm mentioning him, right? Since he likes whatever there. But I think of his relationship with his son's mother. Why wasn't he in the family? He was dealing, he had the whole, and they constantly put this stuff out so that you're used to it. And you in turn act like that. People don't recognize how influential it is, but I'm telling you, it plays a big factor into this. Now, we're more surprised when somebody's at 24 who's pregnant and she says, yeah, I have a husband. You're like, what? Get out of here. Am I lying?
No, you're not lying. Man, so it's definitely times have changed, and we a lot of people always go with things are not the same. That was back in the days. We're evolving and all that stuff, but are we really evolving?
No, we're not.
And that's the question that we have to ask ourselves. You can't always go against what was always put out there. You can kind of tweak things, make revisions and stuff like that, but to just say, no, that was back in the days, it's a different time now, where more kids are more advanced or people more advanced. I don't subscribe to that in all cases.
Have you tried to get change from a kid at the gas station, or something comes to $11 and you give them a 10? I'm sorry, something comes to $6 and you give them a 10 and you realize you have $1 and then they count you back the money and you're like, I gave you $1 so I can get back a case 5. But they're like, oh, you're going to mess up my change. In other words, I'm making the point in that they have access to everything, okay, at their disposal, okay? And yet we're producing people who barely can think 2 steps ahead. How is it for us to find information, we had to go to a library. You know, God forbid if you had an encyclopedia set in your house, you're damn near gold. You know, now just on their device alone, they can find anything, find a YouTube video on anything, how to fix it. Do they? No. So I'm saying this to make a point in that we can claim we're all advanced all we want, but it's kind of retarded us, to be honest with you. I would like to address that comment. Nicole Miller writes, men don't want to say anything that won't keep the door open for them. That's not true. There are plenty of guys who will tell you, hey, we're just smashing right now. Okay? You know, now, is she right about some men who play the game or whatever? Oh, I'm just with you or whatever, or I just want this. Sure. But for the most part, there are plenty of honest guys out there. Many just don't want to deal with that raw, hardcore thing because life has been catered to them so much.
You know me, I like to say mode 1, Alan Roger Curry.
Shout out to ARC.
You might have to explain to some people mode 1.
Yeah, explain mode 1 to most people.
Mode 1 is Alan Roger, book author and YouTube podcast host Alan Roger Curry's philosophy on being direct, straightforward, and honest. So when he meets a woman, he just wants to have sex. He lays it out there just like that. And there are some men who will live by that doctrine. So, I mean, some men will close the door on you. Some men will ghost you. Some men won't, you know, depending on who you are, the quality of woman, what you bring to the table, the values that you have will determine ultimately how a man treats you. And a lot of women don't want to hear that, but it's the honest to goodness truth. If you just that attractive and you don't have anything outside of your attractiveness off the man, that's all he's going to pursue. And this was mentioned earlier. You know,
Christine, from a woman's perspective, what's your thoughts on what he said that mode 1 is?
I don't really understand it.
Okay, what he's basically saying is that.
But what you also,
what?
Go ahead. Man.
Oh, I was simply saying it's basically about a man when he approaches a woman should be upfront and direct about his intentions of being a woman. I don't want to just take you out to this date because I want to find out about you or whatever. No, I find you very physically attractive and would like to be horizontal with you, you know. Now, however way you say that or whatever depends on.
Here's how I feel about it.
No. Let me be clear.
Okay.
Most guys approach things with similar to the comment that was made, like going around the back door. They're doing all this stuff or whatever, you know, but they don't really want to say their real intentions. The thing is, you women know exactly that's why that man is with you. He's not trying to be your, what do you call it? Friend zone. You know, he's not trying to be your gal pal. He wants to be with you, you know, so go ahead and let gal pal.
Well, what I was going to say is regarding what Herb said about being direct, I think that's good from the standpoint. There are women that'll be like, okay, cool, and then there's other that'll be like, yeah, no, we're not going on a date. But at least at least it's been straightforward. It's been presented to you straightforward, so there's no misunderstanding. Take it or leave it.
I don't know who the Facebook
but you'll also
find. I'm going to imagine it's a female. She says she's never met a man that direct. Then you haven't been around men who just want sex.
Well, there will do that, but what you'll find is a lot of those men who are that direct never end up being in a committed relationship either, because they're so used to doing just that. So very rarely do you find them being in a long-term committed. Right.
I mean,
but by the time
they might not be looking for one, they're probably looking for exactly what they just said.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that because the author who does this, he's in one.
As they get older, what they'll find is that when they're to settle down, the opportunities to settle down with somebody of what they were looking for is really not there.
That's why. Go ahead, so tight.
No, I just respectfully disagree with that. Like the guy who come up with this, he's married. I just think that I don't think that this is one of the things that society has told us, that we have to do this in order to get to this end result. Whereas there's more than one way to skin a cat. Okay, I'm just saying that just in general. You have a lot of married couples that, I mean, this is going on a complete tangent, but you have a lot of married couples that you would never suspect that are into the swinging life, for example, right? Now, that's completely not conventional. It's not something I'm into either, but you would not think that that would work. But these are couples who've been together for like 10 and 20 years. So that's why I'm like, it's not always a straight line to these things. That's all I was wrong really saying. This is a respectful disagreement.
But even with swinging, all these things that you see going on now are things that are just becoming more of a acceptable norm versus back years ago, like you said, 80s and 70s and 80s and things like that. Even if you wanted to do swinging or something like that, it wasn't an acceptable thought to even want to do that. So a lot of times you dealt with a relationship or you cheated, but you didn't go and do it with your wife and another couple. A lot of the things you see going on now, a lot of the things you see going on right now are things that have just basically in the last 10 years have begun to become what people are accepting as being normal. Because nowadays anything goes. Right. Mainstream, anything goes now. And so it's like you do it until somebody calls you out on it. And then okay, well, if enough people call you out on it, then okay, it's wrong. But if not, then it becomes a norm and other people jump in because that's something they had in the back of their mind of trying anyways.
I think it's more mainstream. Yeah, I think it's more mainstream. Dave, could you highlight the third to last comment? Or you don't have to. It's not. I can address it. She says, never that direct. Been around many men, including pro athletes. None are that direct. Are any of you that men that direct? Pro athletes are, I don't like the stereotype, but because I've been in this industry, pro athletes are obviously an exception to the rule. And many of them don't have to be direct because things are catered to them, or they have people around them that bring things to them, so they don't have to be direct. In fact, most of them are some of the biggest simps there are, because especially when their career is over, because many of them didn't learn the social skills that's required. Now regarding the other point about the are any of you that men that direct? Yes, but I'm not a vulgar person, but yes, absolutely. I can honestly tell you, I wasted 15 years of my life doing all this things that you're supposed to do nonsense. So when I speak against the mainstream stuff, I'm speaking because it didn't work. Last thing, I always say that men should never, we talked about the women raising a man and all this, and I can't remember which one of you said this, but you said it right about how a woman is teaching a boy from an ideal perspective. I'm also saying that unless y'all gonna laugh at this, unless a woman works in a brothel or is a divorce attorney, never take any advice from her about women, okay? Because and I know it's extreme. It's
right. What?
A man, especially a son or boy, should never take advice from women unless she's a divorce attorney or works in a brothel.
So a man shouldn't take advice from his mother?
From women? Did you say his mother?
Yes, I said his mother.
That is the absolute worst person that you're going to give advice because that's your baby. Okay, that's your baby. You don't want to see him with these, we'll call them nefarious characters. I don't want to use any of the buzzwords. You imagine your son or sons with the best of the best women. Unfortunately, many aren't out there like that, and he will be food or meat for them because he's not approaching it in a realistic fashion. And the reason I say those brothel workers or divorce attorneys are easy. They see all the shrapnel afterwards. They know where all the bodies are laid. Brothels, again, this is part of the experience, but they're the ones who see men in their most vulnerable state. Okay, they can talk. I said brothels, not strippers. They're a little bit different or whatever. But yes, the mothers, the absolute worst. Bring her flowers. You should also have a poem ready. Try nowadays doing that.
BGS, you know, it's funny Sir Ty says that because BGS also says the same thing. He says that sex workers see men for what they are, and they see them in a different light than does the average woman.
And plus, no, on a real talk, I'm not saying that they're obviously not the ideal. They have to look at things like one thing that a woman has that a man can never have is that nurturing ability and that sense of sensing energy. Okay. Now, if you're out there doing that type of work, you have to be able to evaluate things, guys, really quick and size them up. You know, is this guy here for pleasure or is he going to assault me? You know, and they are very, you know, they're very wired very differently because they're in, you know, basically they're in the trenches and such.
Yeah, I bring in a lot of different perspectives and analogies and all that stuff. So yeah, I think I got some heads spinning around here.
Women don't properly game their sons up. Can somebody help me out on that?
I'll do it because I want to address this. Advice from prostitutes. What can she teach? Number one, how to read women. Number two, how to approach women. You know, women, we all know about the representative versus the real person.
So are you saying that a mother wouldn't know that stuff? A mother
as I said, a mother's approach is coming from the most idealistic perspective. She's not, you know, I'm generalizing, but you're coming from your son is going to encounter many women who have bad intentions, or some that wear great masks, or some that come in with good intentions but have poison programming. You know, let me look. It was something you said. Oh, women. Okay. Doctor says women don't properly game their sons up. Basically, you're not equipping your sons with how to deal in the real world of dating, which, again, I've already said is competitive. It's a competitive sport. All that, hi, my name is Sir Tice. How are you? I'm not saying you have to come in with some slick line or anything like that. I'm just simply saying that, you know. So, and of course you're going to disagree. You're a mother.
Well, you're absolutely right. I do disagree. And I don't think I left my son out there for the wolves. I do think I educated him on women.
And I think that's the thing where some people have been able to educate them, but some people take a different approach. Like Sir Ty was saying, like you need to do this, you need to open doors, you need to, you know, you give them all these different rules and regulations that they need to do. But I think that's based on who that individual is, because not everybody may deserve that type of treatment. So they may not be able to take that approach with every woman. And sometimes you got to tell them, like, hey, this is what you need to do. And it may not be the most popular thing.
Facebook user says, single lonely women for sale have advice. I'm not advocating women ever be a prostitute. I think it's very demeaning in a sense. But what many people don't know is that in the early 1900s, to be a prostitute, you had to be college educated. I'm sorry, let me be clear. You had to work in most high-end brothels. You had to be college educated. You had to be refined and such. And that was so that you can deal with multiple men. I didn't just come across this. I've actually researched these things. You know, this stuff is fairly normal in most societies. And again, I like to use it because it's kind of a hyperbolic point, but it is also true. there's a reason why certain guys do better with women, for example, than others. And that guy, and it's not about money, it's not about swag or any of that goofy nonsense. Oftentimes, this guy just may know how to do a better read on that. But again, I think mothers have very good intentions. Don't get me wrong on that. I just think that it's kind of like, I'll give you a better analogy. It's kind of like anybody that's played sports know there's ways to the letter of playing the sport, and then there's nuances or getting dirty in the mud or whatever, little tactics. Those are the things that many people who have the idealistic approach aren't sharing, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. Especially when you equate it to sports. There's tricks to it. There's certain things that you have to look for, and that may not come from your coach. It may come from that old head or that hood guy that's been around that could tell you, like, this is what you need to do. And you know, I can go, when you look at sports, it's certain different things. Even if you take the example of, and I don't want to bore you out with sports, when you take the thing of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Well, once he got with the Crump Camp in Sugar Hill, Tyson Fury, he kind of roughhoused him, putting his body on him, doing things like that kind of wore Deontay Wilder out. So those are like old tricks, whatever, like in boxing, that sometimes it's not that Deontay Wilder has any technique.
He doesn't.
But yeah, sometimes it's about roughhousing and teaching someone how to do that. And it may not be taught by everyone. Like it's stuff, you know, it's things like it's skills to this, skills to certain things that you may be taught. And it may not be the conventional way to do it.
You just said the key word. If the conventional way worked, then why do we complain about this, you know, about relationships, society in general? Because the conventional way doesn't always work. Yes, I know I'm the guy who brought up tradition, but when I talk about tradition, I'm speaking of it from the context of what used to work or whatever. I mean, case in point, it's not there are no parent books, but sometimes a kid needs an ass whooping. Sorry, it is what it is. You know, that doesn't mean that you, as a frustrated parent, take out your frustrations on a child. No, you whoop their ass, then, you know, explain afterwards why they did something. And I don't mean whooping them for dropping a glass or something like that. That's ridiculous. Unfortunately, that happened to me plenty of times, but that's another story, another time. But there are plenty of things, you know, there was somebody in the chat that had said this. You can always learn something about someone. And this is the one thing that I'm going to say, that what we call hood cats or people on the street, one thing that you have to give these people, and I'm not saying that they're all like this, but because everything is about energies and reading people and making quick assessments, and they tend to be in hostile territories, they tend to be very good at that. It will be no different than somebody who is an experienced hunter, knows the woods, know the navigation, versus somebody who's just a good marksman. Yeah, he may shoot his gun well, but he doesn't know the woods, the territory, as well as this experienced hunter. So it's kind of like that.
That's true. Well, we and I think this kind of tied in too with the modern dating being too commercialized. If anybody got anything to add to that, for example, dating apps, what do you bring to the table? Self-proclaimed relationship gurus. What's your take on all of the modern dating? And how do you think social media has impacted dating? I think we kind of touched on some of that.
Well, I just actually posted something the last couple of days. I've been posting about what they call modern dating and modern relationships, and how everything is becoming so materialistic in relationships now. Is what you can pay for or give the woman is what's going to determine if she's going to stay with you or she's going to have you and other guys and all these other things. And I was posting today earlier about this guy, what do they call him, Country Wayne, and his videos. And the video that that I was posting today was a situation where he has 9 kids, and supposedly he takes care of all 9 kids and their mothers, even if they have boyfriends. He still takes care of the mothers and all this kind of nonsense. But he posts these videos, and the video that was really disturbing to me, because I was already having that conversation with some people, was a video with him. His 2 sons did a video, and the girlfriends, they were walking out, the girlfriends out to the car, and the 2 girlfriends were saying, well, we're supposed to be all going out to a club or a party that night, and y'all need to give us some money so we can go get our hair done and our nails done and get some outfits. And the one son pulls out this stack of money, because that's what the father does, pulls out this stack of money, and he counts out 200, 300, 400. Like, I guess he gave her like $200 at first. And she was like, well, what am I going to do with this? Still got to get my outfit. I know this is enough for my hair, you know. And then he give her another $200, $300. And the other son pulls out a 20 and gives it to his girlfriend. And they all jumped on him about giving the girl, because she's like, what can I do with this 20? He said, you can get a shirt. And she was like, well, what about my hair? What about my nails? And then the mother, supposed mother in the video, she comes out. Didn't your father teach you better than that? Give her some more money so she can get her outfit and get her hair. And you see this kind of stuff being portrayed. This was one video, but they do so many of these videos like this, where he's giving all the mothers like stacks of money, and, you know, and he's kicking it with this girl, and he giving her a stack of money, and everything is stacks of money, and this whole thing. And so when people see this, especially young people seeing young teenage boys giving their girlfriends hundreds of dollars to go get their hair done and get outfits so they can go out to get something to eat, all this kind of, or go to a party. Now you have this portrayed as this is what your young boyfriend is supposed to do for you. How is a young boy going to get that kind of money? What is he thinking? What he's going to look, if that's how he's going to get that nice looking girl, or the girl he thinks he wants, what is he thinking? Okay, I don't have a job. McDonald's ain't gonna give me a stack like that. What is being portrayed to them? And this is, I mean, they do videos every day, posting videos like this every day, reinforcing this mindset to our young people with no care in the world. And they get thousands of views, and that's why they do it, even though it's wrong, and they know it's wrong. They know that's wrong. But because you're getting these thousands of views and you're going to get paid, or you get this endorsements or whatever you get from having thousands of views on YouTube and all these other channels, they do it. And it's shaping our young people to, it's going to be ridiculous. It's getting worse every day.
That's incredible,
So
but it's not
very materialistic. It's ridiculous.
I wish that person would join the panel. But that's okay. No. In the comment, I won't. I'll hear. For the sake of David, because I'll go next. I think folks have no idea what they want from a relationship. They move too fast and don't set relationship goals. God, I hate that term. Relationship goals from the very beginning. Stop listening and promote to anyone promoting division on SM. What you just said, bruh, was spot on about how it goes back to the propaganda that I was mentioning earlier, and how this stuff is fed into people. You can't individually teach people what to do, but you can use media to do this. And this is exactly what's happening. Now, when you made the point about how in the hell is a teenager supposed to get this stack of money, to please this woman? And we know typically this is why dare I say, I have a theory on this. The reason why we have so many damn scammers around right now is because we have a lack of men who have that real hustle in them to go out and do work. And it's not about get a job. What problem can you solve that you can monetize and you can be an owner, or what's wrong with getting a job, building up to that point? No, everybody wants it. And this is your key point. This immediacy mindset, this is what has destroyed things. This immediate gratification. I take that risk. I take that risk to serve 3 years to have that money versus what? Work at McDonald's? I've heard this logic, and I'm like, so let me get this right. You're willing to sacrifice your freedom to please a bunch of MFers who don't give a damn about you, but what you can, what you give them. Are you serious? And then to that, even if a guy does that, the guy who she finds more appealing, whether that's arousal or whatever, will always be able to trump that material guy. Okay, this is why so many, what do they call them, sugar babies, have real dudes or whatever that they deal with, And I've often said to the tricking guys, that's what we'll call them. I've often said to the tricking guys that yes, but every woman that takes money from a man or whatever, or smashes a man for a fee, has a man that she wants that she does for free. Okay, because she wants to. Yep. Because we're teaching so many men the quick path and this wearing dumb, goofy jewelry and all this, they see them a mile away coming. Knowing it has no value, but it has perceived value. And now back to the original point, I think I said this in that topic. I said it still astounds me to this day how people use social media more for their dating life than the networking to find a job or let me get some more information on the topic. Damn, that's a book I never thought of. I need to go read that where I can be better developed. Nope, it's person X like pictures and this. And they just said, I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe I'm the goofy one. Because when I like a picture, I like a picture. Especially this goofy long distance relationship stuff. Listen, people can like each other, love each other. It is next to impossible to do a long distance relationship because real interaction with people happens when you're interacting together and you're not saying anything. Are you comfortable in that person's presence without you all saying anything? Social media wants to shortcut all of this. So when you swipe left or whatever to someone who has crazily angled pictures, make sure the right lighting was done, and you meet that person, you're like, damn, forget the catfish aspect. This person is dull as hell, whereas when you in real life, you actually encounter this person, have a conversation, and you can feel the vibe or what have you. And we've gotten so far away from that. I'll end on this. Think about how your grandparents, if your grandparents were alive when you were dating, they were damn good judge of people. Hell, the one thing I will give the credit on mothers, 99% of the friends of mine that my mother said they ain't blipped to, she was spot on about them, right? Now, the point I'm getting at is that your parents, your grandparents were definitely good at this in reading people, but we're relying on images, pictures, sometimes thoughts. You don't know the person. And again, I get it. It's a part of the culture right now. This Instagram world, back to that Insta you were mentioning earlier, that this Instagram world, immediate gratification, just as quick as you get it, is exactly why it's so flimsy and it goes away. One more point. And yes, this is on the women. Here's why things are messed up, and I'll pass the mic after I say this. Before, women are about vanity, love attention, right? Okay, we know this, okay? And it's nothing negative or whatever. Women have always been about vanity, okay? The problem is this. I remember when I was growing up, I was like, we'd be playing football on the street or something like that, and the lady, one chick, she would be just walking past us, getting one thing from the store, walk back, walking past us, and I'm saying to myself, why the hell does she just get them all at the same time? I think the fellas know where I'm going with this. And then one time it hit me later on when I was starting my career. I was eating lunch and the construction crew was fixing a sidewalk or whatever, right? So one sidewalk was down, the other sidewalk was operative. She went to the sidewalk that wasn't operative and was walking, and I'm like, oh crap, this is it. She wanted those construction workers to see her, when she walked right past them. So what does this have to do with modern dating? Is this. in other words, as I said, a woman used to have to leave her home to get attention. Now she can go into her modeling studio, her bathroom, and
Excuse me?
adjust a couple of lights, at 6 a.m. Good morning, loves. And by 10 a.m., she'll have about 1,000 Hello Beautifuls, a couple cunnilingus proposals, a couple marriage proposals, and then she goes to the store for her lunch. And girl, these people got me. Hey, sweetheart, how you doing? Oh, these men are so thirsty. It's like, so there you go. I knew you guys would like that.
That was a good one. That was a good one. Oh man.
So to me, I think like dating apps, social media, and all that, it's like you're shopping for a car, a used car. It's just like there's not enough substance to dating anymore as a whole. Of course, everybody's doesn't fit the category, but I do think it's pretty bad. I think it's very much about, what am I getting out of it? Everybody's trying to get theirs. And they're not, I don't know, looking for something.
There's no commitment. There's no commitment for it because, and that's the biggest issue with that internet dating. You're talking to this person, like he said earlier. By 10 o'clock, you've got 200, 300, 400 people, depending on how popular you are, in your inbox and all this stuff. So how is that person going to ever be committed in a relationship? Because that attention that they're getting, guys and girls, from all these people doesn't allow them that opportunity, that desire to want to be committed in a relationship, because that attention is so thriving for them. They thrive for that attention. So that relationship is all about, the only relationship they want is that relationship they get from all the different personalities and people trolling on their pages, flirting with them, telling them how cute they are. And a lot of these people, you find that a lot of them weren't, even if they were cute, they weren't getting that type of attention prior to this big explosion with social media and TikTok. And actually Facebook just started the same thing, where you can do the TikTok videos, you can do them on Facebook also. And if you look at the videos, 80% of them are like some kind of dancing video. You gyrating, or you're doing some type of dancing, and what most hits are the women with the least amount of clothes, the most, showing the most body, and they're dancing, gyrating, and same thing, with some of the guys.
But
so, it's just,
and then add to it, then when a couple does come together, then it's just everybody wants to be a star, I guess. So now you're overloaded with pictures of the couple together at different events or different, anytime they go out on a date, they invite social media in on the date.
Media with them,
black love.
Right, keep going on that. Why is everything okay? So I'll say this.
So it kind of shows that where your focus really is. It's not on that relationship. It's not on the other person. It's on, does this relationship make me look good?
I'm gonna pass the mic right back to you. I'm gonna give you a great alley-oop. Well, the fellas know what that means.
I know what that means.
Yeah. Okay. My cousin and I damn near had a falling out over this. Like, I'll sometimes find pictures, or my mother will find pictures that are family pictures or what have you, and she'll send. So I'll send it in our family text group. And then I saw one of the pictures on Facebook, and I'm like, did I not effing tell you, if I'm sending something, if I wanted it on Facebook, I'm the one that sent it. I would have put it out my damn self, right? This is for the family or whatever. So you know what she did? She blurred everybody else out. And I'm like, dummy, this isn't the point. So what am I getting at? Back to when and the mic is coming back to you. why are we so concerned about validation from effing strangers? I get it. If it's people that you know and you want to be seen, hey, that's cool. But why are we so overly consumed? It's one thing to post things occasionally, because I do it, but it's another thing. I got to see your meal. I got to see what the red carpet is. I have to see all. It's like, are you trying to do this? And one thing that, by the way, one real foul thing that women do, that I remember one time this happened to me. I'm like, we were out, the picture of the damn silverware, the decor, the maitre d', the drinks, everybody was pictured, but a certain person in these pictures, you know, the certain person that bought all this shit. Okay. But I guess if I get pictured, now her prospects or her suitors or her hello beautifuls or whatever are gonna be reduced. Mm-hmm. But you know, no, and I'm not making this about men or whatever, but let's just get back to just everybody here. There's a cat in the Black Manosphere, shout out Keith Lamont or whatever. He says they all just want to be these ratchet housewives, the real housewives or whatever. That's the lifestyle they want to live. And I'm like, man, as messed up as that sounds. That's reality.
We talked about that several times before. Where? Go ahead, Herb.
A lot of people they feel that they need some type of validation for what's lacking internal. Me personally, 99.9% of my personal life never hit social media. I think the last time I actually posted something that I did in terms of my personal life was about 2 years ago when I went ice skating in Toronto, and that was for my birthday. Rarely do I post what I do in my personal life. I don't need anybody else to be in my business. You know, I was taught, you know, if you want to keep a personal life, keep a personal life. And I make this plainly and painfully clear to any female I deal with. What we do, whether it's just go out for a ice cream cone, go to a sporting event, or whatever the case is, if I hear tell of it from your friends, we done. You get no explanation from me, no excuse. We done. I make that known. And that's how I run my shit. That's why I'm able to keep my business
with you. She can't mention it to her best friend, or she can't, you know, I went out with her.
No.
Really nice time.
If I hear,
get back to him. Get back to her.
To get back to him, you cut.
You're done.
You're done, baby.
I make.
I hope you got a deal.
I have an ironclad contract. I make sure. Look, this is our business. I don't need your friends in our business. I don't need your mother in our business. I don't need your father. I don't need your BFF. I don't need it. Don't want it. If there's an issue you have, address it with me. But like I said, if I catch wind of it, you're done, because you got to think, if I'm hearing of it, to who else knows of it?
While I don't necessarily agree with you, while I don't necessarily agree, you know the pushback you're gonna get. They're gonna be like, "Who are you anyway? Nobody care about what you doing and all that." You already know that's what they're saying.
That's why I'm the big bad wolf, because I don't give a fuck. I don't care.
But Christine, so why?
And when you start to have that type of, go ahead,
Christine. No, so you're saying we gave you why? We were talking about the everything's got to be validated. I get the vanity part with women, I do, but why is everything with your not your peer group, your gender, with many in your gender? It's like, man, is your whole life on social media? It's ridiculous.
You know, I honestly don't think that's just a woman thing. I will post about myself about myself, but like dating, no, but I've dated where they post every place we go. They take pictures of, just like you described the woman, take pictures of but I was always in the picture, but still, pictures of the food pictures of the restaurant, post art, where we're at, pictures of us just like ad nauseum. Like I would really feel like I wasn't enjoying the date because
The whole world was with y'all.
the whole world was with us, and I constantly had to stop the pose. And we, like, come on, can we just relax and enjoy dinner? And for God's sake, do you need to take pictures of freaking White Castles at lunch? Like
that's funny. Pull a cell phone. Pull a cell phone out on me when we out.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a problem because we're supposed to be amongst each other's interaction, and too many people are used to that constant, notifications. There's a good not documentary. Well, there's a good video. It talks about the negative effects of social media, and basically on a technical level, when you do cocaine, I'm not saying you do cocaine, but when you do cocaine, your dopamine gets basically, I don't want to say
get a boost.
Thank you. And it's the same feeling when you do ecstasy and when you see at a lighter dose something that you like or whatever, like, oh, wow. And what they're saying is that they're doing tests on kids right now, and their dopamine levels are completely out of whack because of this validation that they're seeking. And right. And because this is relatively new, there's not enough data yet to see the long-term effects. But from what I can sense from the study that I read is that basically it's kind of like constantly revving up a car. A car is not designed to be just constantly revved up. It needs to cruise at times. It needs to be parked. And people's dopamine levels are out of whack. And it's not, and I sense it in adults. I see grannies, she's very attractive for a granny, I might admit, but she's got the Brian panties pictures or whatever. And I'm like, damn, she's like, this is somebody's grandma posting this? And, but this is what, she's willing to put out there, and it's just crazy.
All right, this is why you have so many different. This is why you have so many different challenges that these kids are doing because of that constant thrill or search for excitement and thrills and dopamine. Is they do these challenges every time you turn around, it's a different challenge, which takes it to a different level of danger and excitement. With the crates and all that kind of stuff. All these different things they do to jeopardize or, to put themselves in situations where it's, one challenge after another, hitting teachers and all these kind of, all these kind of different things that
and part of that is they took away the fun element of school anyways. Like it's all about teaching to the test and coming there and do that, and everything that was fun has been removed from school. So kids go there and they like, damn, we got to get something popping off in here. And they take those risks, like you said, with the dopamine and all that stuff. And like, hey, I'm willing to get sent home 3 days or 5 days or whatever the case is. Hey, I can play my video game or whatever the case is. More than likely, they go say I can come back and make up the work or whatever the case is. So who wouldn't take that deal? So a lot of them, they take that risk because it's a lot of things that change.
I had a kid like that in my program, and he was a 7th grader. And that's what he said. He said he did stuff so he could get kicked out and go home and play his video games and come back. And if anything, he'd go to summer school, whatever. It wasn't it was no big deal because it's become that cycle where, okay, nobody fails. It's almost like you said, everybody gets a trophy. Nobody fails. You do whatever you want and you blow off the whole school year, and then you can go to school for what was it, 4 weeks? How long is summer school? Like 6 weeks or something? It's not long.
7 weeks, yeah.
You can make up a whole school. You can make up a whole school year in 6 weeks. So why go to school and do classes throughout the year when you can tell me I can make it up? Well, I knew it's short. So you could make up a whole school year in 4 weeks. So why do I need to pay attention throughout the year? Well, I'll just go to summer school.
We don't teach the long game.
Right.
They make it that simple for these kids.
And you know what
And
the
it's
funny
sad
thing about that is this.
that's where their mindset goes. They don't worry about failing because, and then they can only fail them so many times, right, Dave? They can only
Middle
fail so many
school, you only can
times.
fail. Yeah, if you fail like the 6th grade, then no matter what you do the next year, they got to promote you to the
Right.
7th grade. That's in middle school, but in high school, you can pretty much go there when you're 14, and you got up until you turn 21.
21. Right.
Yeah, so you got like 7 years in high school, which is to me
7 years.
that's
Who
something
wants to go to high school for 7
Right.
years? Oh my
But
God.
there's always like 3 or 4 people that's on
I
that
get
plan.
three and a
there.
half?
Yeah.
Plan. Yeah. So,
We're supposed to be getting
Yeah,
smarter.
but think,
But by the way, that's all traditional stuff, you know. That's old school, right? You know, how the hell can you be 19, let alone 20, and go into high school?
it's crazy.
I
But you
did.
know what the bigger
Really?
situation
But my
with that
circumstances
is
were
too, you got to think about the bigger situation with that is you have a 19, 20, 21-year-old person in a
In school,
school
14-year-olds.
with 14, 15, and 16-year-old girls. All that is considered statutory rape. And
As
those
it
are the
should.
ones that are attracted to them.
Hold on. Now I got to jump in on this one. You are absolutely correct. But I tried to post this topic, not to derail it because I think you're trying to shut it down anyway, but I just want to say this because this all falls into what we're saying. Anybody remember this artist? Her name was Jewel. She was on Death Row. She was on the Deep Cover soundtrack, but her name was Jewel. Everybody remembers Danny Boy, the guy who sung I Ain't Mad at You with Tupac. He sung the hook on that. Anyways, she's 53 now, and he's come out that he's G-Hay or whatever, right? But he's what's that? We got to say words around the trigger words. LGBT.
Okay.
LGBT or whatever. That. Okay. So we talk about sexual assault or whatever, not sexual assault from the man's perspective, but we never talk about it from the female perspective to the boys.
The female being the predator.
Right. And he admitted in his book that when he was 15 or 16 that she slobbed him off or what have you. And she recently did an interview, and this is what I posted. And she did an interview. It's on YouTube like about a month ago, and she bust out laughing or whatever. And she says, "Well, I don't remember, but if I did, I'm sure he enjoyed himself and all this."
That's not okay.
I'm watching, and then even worse in the comments, man, she a real one. Yeah, she down with. And I'm like,
that's not okay. And that's just like the whole Jada Pinkett thing. It was inexcusable. To your comment, I want to say this. You go, because you're right. Why won't she get the criticism in social media? I don't know why, because she should. That was predatory.
Absolutely.
It was predatory. I don't care about her infidelity on her husband. That's between the two of them. But the fact that she sought out her son's young friend, you were scoping on him and you were looking for your opportunity. Everything about that was predatory.
Oh, hold on. I thought she was talking about something else. It's been revealed that she went out with one of the guys and Chris Cross. You know, the jump.
So it's just getting worse.
Yeah.
Is what you're telling me.
Yes.
It's not okay. But you know what? And I'm to a degree, when I look at, just from the Red Table Talk, her life, she talked about being a sex addict at a young age. And I had to wonder, this is not to make an excuse for it. I couldn't help but wonder if she had ever been the victim of child sexual abuse. And now she's the abuser. Now she's the predator.
Probably.
Sure.
But she is definitely a predator, and it's not okay. It's not okay just because it's a woman and it's a boy. That doesn't make it okay.
But I talked about that. Was it last week? I said I was a moderator for a panel, and we discussed males being sexually abused and how it's taboo for the men to even talk about it or tell, and that's why so many of them were turning to drugs and suicide and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And this was an international panel from men all over the world, and that was one of the things they talked about. And that's what happens is when you have these women who prey on these younger men, because it's supposed to be like a macho thing that, oh, he got an older woman. Like you see these teachers, these older teachers sleep with these young boys in the schools. It becomes a macho thing, but in reality, for these boys, it's actually traumatic in a lot of cases because, of course, they're not mature and ready for that situation. But again, they don't tell it, because if you go tell it, then you consider the punk, or oh, he told, he man, you got the teacher, you got whoever this older person is, and it's supposed to be considered a badge of honor, and it's really not. You are being preyed upon the same way as an older man preying on a young woman, but because of the macho mentality, you're supposed to look at it as a badge of honor. I'm sorry.
No, to add to that, it's not the fat kid with glasses either. It's usually the kid who's a little bit more statuesque. I've really looked into these issues, and they're rarely ever prosecuted. And I knew this happened with a friend of mine, and we were like, I didn't find out till later, but I'm like, dude, and he was the so-called ladies' man, but he ended up, he got involved in got involved in escorting and all this stuff. And now,
because you become promiscuous just like the woman. And just now, like the women become promiscuous, they become promiscuous.
Right.
They do things that, and the parents are wondering what's wrong with them. Why are you acting out? Why are you doing drugs? Why are you doing? And that's one of the things they talked about on this panel. So many of those guys who had been through that situation were heavy drug users, prostitution, very promiscuous. They were doing all the things that you would see a young girl doing who had been through that same situation. But again, the young girl could go to help, ask for help. Or
at least get sympathy. At the very least.
Right. And the guy is not going to get sympathy. And they even talked about it, like some of these countries, like one of the guys was from Scotland, another guy was from Australia somewhere. And they were talking about how if you went and reported it to the police, even the police mocked you, and they made fun of you and considered you a wimp. You didn't enjoy it. Why are you, it was like, why are you turning this woman in? You had the opportunity to have this older woman. What was wrong with that? And so they had to keep it inside. And it was really interesting. It was really interesting because they asked me to be the moderator for it because I do a lot of work with this boys program. And they asked me would I be the moderator. And I was kind of reluctant at first because I was like, well, I don't want people thinking that happened to me. But when I went ahead and decided to do it, I was glad I did because I learned a lot from listening to those guys and what they went through and how society make a man feel that you're not a man if you tell if you tell something like that happened to you, that you were sexually abused by a woman, that you're not a man. And like I said, in those countries, a lot of those countries, they are mistreated for telling. So they turn to drugs and alcohol and sex and all the things to try to, sleep at night, try to block it out. And so with young ladies, they can at least go, and they're starting to create programs now where men can get help. But how many of those men are actually going to get help?
Right.
Not many.
Because it's still a stigma.
Even though the help is there. Right. It's that stigma of,
they might be trying to break the stigma a little bit, but it's not. It's still strong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I always tell it. I've told this story before, maybe a couple times on here. When I was younger, a street away, some of my boys used to be like, "Man, you need to get off the street and come on over to our way because, like, man, you don't understand." Like, now mind you, we're like 10 years old, and they're like, we over there grinding on, people's
Mm.
mothers and all that stuff. And I'm like, ew, like, you talk about such and such a mother, and they're like, yeah, man, she got a big old ass. She be letting us grind on it. I'm like disgusted. Like, nah, I'm good, whatever. There's like, man,
Yeah.
you missing out, man.
Mhm.
Missing out, man. Quit being scary, man,
Yeah.
and come on over here. And I'm like, that's disgusting, whatever. But stuff like that was happening when we were younger, and no one.
And you don't talk about it. You don't tell it.
I didn't go back and tell my mother and her like, listen, this is going down over there. I just like, hey, that's their business, kind of.
Yeah,
That's unreal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Listen, gang, we
but
have
if that
one more
was
point.
reversed and that was young girls. I'm sorry, I was saying if that was reversed and that was young girl going over to older men's house in that same situation,
Oh boy.
it would be all over the news. And you'd have friends going over there busting heads and everything else. But that's just how how things are, that you can have the same situation and looked at two different ways, because of the roles. The genders.
I know you got one more topic. I've heard the lead attorney say this. He says that, bottom line, if you're not familiar with the lead attorney, he's a black attorney that has a channel on YouTube that's pretty popping right now. And he said, here's the bottom line, folks. I hate to say it. Prosecutors are not interested in prosecuting women like for this. And he said, I've dealt with this for 20 plus years. He said, they're not. Now he didn't go into, there's more money into, he didn't go into all the prison pipeline for men and all that. And I really thought about that. I'm like, because a lot of these people go off scot-free. The teachers, every week we can find a story on the internet of some teachers doing some inappropriate thing with some boy. We can find it. And she will end up being able to get another job. So.
Well, listen, we're going to carry this last topic over and bring that over to next week's show for the sake of time. And we're going to get ready to get out of here with some closing comments. So who would like to go first?
I'll go first as I'm the new guy. Thanks for letting me on. No closing comments. No, I saw another comment they said about preaching against separation is wrong. Here's the problem with that. Men are about boundaries, okay? We all make this. There's a reason why everybody isn't our friend. Some people we think are very toxic people that we don't need to be around. You need to be around more like-minded people. This whole relation and dating project for a relationship issue, it's not going to be solved by us being nicer to each other and all this. We're going to have to really, I think we're past the conversation personally, but we're going to have to really analyze why we're so into these social media apps, why we're so into validation, why do we not know how to be wives and husbands and things like that. Then we could possibly have some reconciliation. Is it going to happen 50%? No. But if you sway it just 10 to 15%, you can see a cultural change where maybe people will want to imitate these things. But to act like, this is corny, goofy, black love and all this, we would say, how dare you say black love is goofy and corny? Because, guys, there's money in us being separated. If we want to really get back to black love, we have to get back into the core values of so-called relationships in this. And hey, guess what? People hate this, and I'll end on this. Relationships aren't supposed to be all fun and exciting all the damn time. Guess what? It's going to be flat out boring most of the time. Are you willing to deal with the boring? And most people aren't, because they've been told you can live your best life and all this other goofy nonsense. And until people are ready to deal with the boring, the mundane, then we won't reach that point. I know it's not the best message to say or the most optimistic message out there, but this is what it is. As men, sometimes we got to learn to soldier on, because nobody's definitely not your best friend. And as far as women, I've always said, for women, if you can just pick up some of these concepts, you'll be 10 times ahead of most of your peer group because most of them are just getting their messages from this anyway. So with that said, y'all have a good night. I'll listen in the background.
Thank you, brother, for coming on. We appreciate all your insight that you gave us. Appreciate it.
Yes.
I'll go next.
Lady. Oh, you go next, Herb? Okay.
This has been just so many, like Dave has always said, so many viewpoints, man. So many thoughts have been pushed through tonight. So I hope somebody got something, tangible out of this. And like I like to tell people, less is more. Keep a lot of your personal stuff between you and the individuals you do it with. You'll find yourself a little more fulfilled when you actually start to realize that the sum total value of what you do doesn't need to be shared with everyone. The people that know you, the people that value you, they will seek you out and they will say, I've heard from such and such that you've done this. That's the way you want your good works to be found out, not because you're posting it on social media for everybody to see. Sometimes you just don't need to do all that. So, just bear in mind, keep some things private, embrace them in your inner circle for what they are, and as I always like to close, growth and understanding occurs in a gray area. Godspeed. See you next time.
All right. Thank you, brother.
All right. I'll go next. I'm gonna let Miss Lady Christine go last tonight. Well, normally, of course, I always close with my little closing, but I'm gonna put a little shift on my closing. Instead of, I always talk about headshots can be deceiving, but in closing tonight, I want to say, because I've been watching these videos, headshots with a lot of makeup can be extremely deceiving. Be careful out there.
Dang.
He changed it up a little bit. Oh man.
My advice, or what I want to say is, I just would like to advise people to do the hard work. Get to know yourself. Don't be more than just your two-dimensional person that's on social media. Find out who you are. Find out what you really like. You're not going to meet your mate not knowing who you are. So with that being said, be like a flower, survive the rain, but use it to grow.
All right, and I'm going to apologize beforehand. We didn't get any Willie's moments tonight.
I know.
So
I'm just so shocked.
For Willie's moment. Hey, stay tuned for next week. I'm sure there'll be an overload.
I need to play the lottery. No Willie's moment, and my morning meeting was finished before I finished my coffee. And life is good.
But on another note, again, I always talk about KYP, knowing your personnel, and it has to do with a lot of these situations, like getting to know that person, getting to know what makes them tick, what makes them do things, and you'll be able to handle and respond to them differently once you know that. And especially once you know yourself, then relationships become, I guess, a little more easy, or a little more the word I want to use. It's getting late. I can't even think of the word. I guess a little more manageable, I assume. But when we talk about sons, husband, we talk about a lot of these subjects. Again, I think Sir Tice brought that up. Like, listen, just because it didn't happen to you, don't mean it ain't happening to others. So exactly. It would be best of you to kind of listen, to be ahead of the game, to know, like, man, this stuff is going on. But all too often, some people feel like, oh, it's not happening to me, so this is bogus. Y'all causing division. All the things that they say. And again, and I'm always saying, stop getting caught up in absolutes. Stop getting caught up in absolutes. If that is the one thing that aggravates the hell out of me, when you're in an argument, you say, not all, well, not everybody. You're such a genius. You're such a genius if that's your leadoff response, whatever. You should have graduated from Harvard or somewhere. That's it. We're out. See you next time. Appreciate everybody who came in, who shared the video, who added insight in the chat. Thanks for the panel, Christine, Sir Ty, Herb, Willie, and we'll see y'all next week. And everybody enjoy the rest of their week. Stay safe and be great.
Good night.
Have a blessed night. Have a good night.
Good night.